Hello, and welcome back to the People Often Suck podcast, where we bring you true stories of some of the most awful, horrific, crappy people in society, while giving credit to the unsung heroes that we certainly love to find out there and highlight and spotlight them. I'm TC, your main host, your key host of this podcast, and with me, as always, is...
I'm the other guy.
The other guy is who?
We're using names. Tom.
Yeah, we probably should use name. Okay.
Tom.
Nah, he's the main host. Anyhow, before we begin, do a huge favor and slap. Let's do the sound effect. Slap the like button and leave a comment and share with us. Share with someone you know. I can't even read that correctly. It would really help us to grow, which we would love because we want to be able to continue to bring you future seasons of this podcast. Also, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X for updates and future episodes, as well as silly posts. We'll try to find some silly posts to post throughout the season as well. So let's get started, shall we? Are you ready?
I mean, the caffeine's wearing off, but yeah, let's do it.
The caffeine's wearing off. Well, that's not good. Well, I will come with the first case here, first POS story. And by the way, an easy name that I will not screw up. So I'm kind of excited about that. I'm starting to look for stories that I can actually pronunciate.
Are you just asking Google, find me stories where the perpetrator's name is Steve?
Yes, Steve Smith. That's great. Okay. Actually, this one is Robert S. James.
Bobby James.
Yes, thank you. And this story, by the way,
old Bobby J.
This story was actually shared with me by a good friend of mine from Florida. And we're not going to do the sound effect because the story isn't about Florida.
Oh.
No, it's not
your
about...
friend is from
my
Florida.
My friend is from Florida.
Oh, okay.
He's the one. Mike is the one.
Don't tease me.
No, Mike Bounds is the one who shared this story. I'm only sharing his last name because the other Mike I had mentioned in the previous episode, who would correct my pronunciation of names, is
17 languages.
Yes,
renowned chef
by nature. Got to say that. And
by nature.
He's of course laughing once again and probably texting me, "You idiot! It's not chef by nature." I know. Okay, so we're going to set the scene. We're going to go back several decades. 1935 in Los Angeles. By the way, Mike has a fascination with old Hollywood, old Los Angeles. So this is why this story was appropriately shared, because it fits right up his alley. So a young lady by the name of Mary Bush. Why would that make you laugh?
You purposely paused and looked at me.
I think it's the PTSD now I have every time I say a name. Menendez. I got it. Okay. So Mary Bush, 27 at the time, she answered an ad placed in by an owner of a beauty parlor / barber shop. The owner was Robert James, 48. He was looking for a manicurist for his shop. So it didn't take long. She obviously got hired. And it didn't take long, but the two found love with each other and got married. I guess back then, didn't take long. By the way, you did hear the ages, right? Mary Bush, 27. Robert James, 48. Age is only a number. We should be able to embrace if somebody wants to marry somebody who's 21 years older, right?
That's dumb.
Whatever. Anyhow, the two got married. And so it didn't take long after that to obviously consummate the marriage. But 3 months after the marriage, Mary became pregnant with her first child.
All right.
Back then, they moved fast. And of course, Robert being 48, he really had to move fast. So
yeah.
On Monday, August 5th, so this is really the only first date, specific date that was given. So we can kind of assume that it was earlier 1935 is when she answered this ad, got the job, Then they got married, and then 3 months later, so forth. She is still with child, so she's somewhere in her pregnancy here. On Monday, August 5th, Mary became ill and was unable to work, so she went home. Okay.
As one does.
Yeah, she's pregnant, probably something tied to that, whatever.
Right.
So Robert stayed at the shop and continued on to keep things going while she went home. After closing at about 7:30, Robert invited two friends, Viola Lewick and her boyfriend, Jim Pemberton. I did say that right, by the way. Pemberton.
You say so.
So he invited both Viola and Jim to come over for dinner. After arriving at the house, Jim couldn't find Mary anywhere inside the residence. Looking around, it's kind of weird. If she wasn't feeling well, I would assume, as any normal person would assume, she's in, probably went to go lay down or something. But nope, she wasn't there. So they eventually went outside into the backyard and found Mary face down in the fish pond.
Oh, they had a fish pond.
That's what you would focus on?
Is that weird?
You focused on the fact that they had a fish pond and not the fact that Mary, with child...
How often do you come across a fish pond in someone's backyard? Maybe in the circles that, you hang with, but for me,
I actually do have a fish pond in my backyard.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
it doesn't everybody?
It needs some work right now, but yeah.
Why? Because there are no fish in it?
Well, no, they're all dead at the moment, but...
Oh, no, they're just sleeping.
That's what it is. They're just, they're lying on their side. They're just quiet and still. Okay. So, yes, Mary is face down, dead in the fish pond. So, obviously, they called, the police and the ambulance and all that. And so Mary was no doubtedly pronounced dead at the scene. But they kind of chalked it up to, well, maybe she was a victim of becoming dizzy due to the pregnancy. She tripped over something and hit her head. That may have been what killed her. And unfortunately, in that area where she fell with her face down, or maybe didn't kill her hitting her head, but it knocked her out, where her face then fell into the fish pond and she drowned. Either way, she died. Okay. And they pretty much chalked it up at that time to she's pregnant, she probably got dizzy, she fell, she hit or drowned, and that's how she died. Okay, right?
Well, to me, this whole thing sounds a little fishy.
Oh my gosh, really? You're going to go down that route?
Cue the Who music.
Now, if I show you the picture of Robert, you're probably going to be like, I'm starting to be suspicious. Okay. So, and again, if you go on our social media, you'll be able to see the picture I just shared with Tom. Yeah, Robert's a little suspicious looking, right?
He just has that look.
Now, again, this is 1935. Let's chalk it up to that. It's 1935. Maybe that is kind of the typical Los Angeles guy look of 1935.
The I'm guilty of murdering my wife look, was that common?
That you're innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, unless you work for Disney. Anyhow.
Wow.
Oh, was that rough? Okay.
Man, I'm fine.
Well, I'm fine too. I have no problem. So.
All right. You brought it up.
No, and I have no problem bringing that up. I will.
Okay.
So not long after Mary's death, Robert filed a claim to collect on his wife's insurance policy, totaling $21,400.
Ooh.
In today's dollars, that would be worth $498,000 to $420.
Okay. That's some nice walking around money.
$500,000.
Yeah. Not too bad.
So, and by the way, not a bad payday for only being married less than a year, right?
Cha-ching.
Yeah. So The insurance claim, this is where these idiots just don't really think about the bigger picture. So when he made the claim, the insurance company decided to question the validity of the story of her death by accidentally falling and drowning in the
fish pond?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you said it because you have that fascination of the fish pond first over her death. So they decided to contact the police and see if they would look into the situation further. This is back when LAPD actually did care about doing all those extra, crime investigations versus today when they tell you, oh, your car was stolen? Gosh, what a bummer.
Wow. Tell us how you really feel.
That's not LAPD's fault. Anyhow, so after further investigation, they discovered that Robert and another man by the name of Charles Hope, ironically, Hope, had concocted an elaborate scheme to murder Mary.
Okay.
So initially, Robert convinced his wife to have an abortion. Now, in 1935, abortion really wasn't a common practice of, unfortunately, what we see today.
What was an abortion like in 1935? They just push you down the stairs?
Or give you a hanger wire.
Oh, come on. I thought we were going to get graphic.
Oh, but I thought, no, I'm actually not even joking about that. I think back then the primitive way of doing it was kind of like that.
No, I think they had like a soup or something that they gave you.
Really?
I don't know.
I don't know. I always heard all the horrific stories of the alleyway abortions and all that. It's very bloody and blah, blah, blah. So if you want to go out and research that all on your own, everybody, you can go do that.
Yeah, that'll be a fun search.
Yeah, don't go down that rabbit hole. That's all I'm going to say.
Clear your browser history.
But so anyhow, yeah. So Robert convinced his wife to have an abortion, but somehow had her consume. So to your point, you said it can some sort of drink or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it had to have been that, because in the trying to convince her to do an abortion, he then basically was like, okay, I'm going to give you a substance to drink that would induce this abortion. However, he was giving her several glasses of whiskey as kind of an anesthesia.
Okay, no problem so far.
Right. Now, he kind of assumed that he was going to perform the abortion himself.
Oh.
But that wasn't the intent. So that's what he convinced her.
Okay.
He convinced her, I'll take care of aborting the baby, but I'm going to get you, in a prime okay state to allow me to perform it. So that's what she thought that he was going to be doing.
So that makes sense for 1935. I just can't see somebody falling for that now.
No. But I have some whiskey in the car if you want some.
Say less.
So once she was more inebriated, he strapped her down to the table with her eyes and mouth taped shut.
Okay.
You would think that this was just within the last few years. This is 1935, people. Then stuck her foot into a box containing not one, but two Colorado diamondback snakes who immediately sunk their fangs into her toes.
What?
Yes. This guy, again, let me show the picture.
Oh.
So
I did not see it going that way.
that was a plot twist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike, for sharing this. It was a good story. So hours passed, but she didn't die.
So selfish.
So Robert decided to drown her in the bathtub with Charles' help, then arrange her body in the fish pond to make it appear she tripped and fell headfirst.
Well, I mean, as plots go, I don't see any room for error.
I'm glad that twist got you.
Yet that is yes, congratulate, that got me.
Thank you. I feel pretty good about this. So once they were both confronted with the evidence, they both turned on each other. Good friends there. Charles, so if anything happens between us, I'm turning on you. Trust me.
Not before I turn on you.
Okay, great. Charles agreed to turn state's evidence and was convicted to first-degree murder, receiving life sentence. Robert was found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging.
Nice.
On May 9th, 1942, Robert James was to become the last man to be hanged in California.
Look at that.
We also have a historical aspect here to it.
Yeah.
Right? I think we should bring back hangings. Anyways, his previous marriages, you're going to love this. His previous marriages and even a nephew either died or had mysterious illnesses, all somehow related to Robert. Not the first time, dude.
So he left a trail.
Yep. His nephew's death in particular, Robert collected $5,000 in insurance claim in which he used to open his beauty and barber shop.
So, wait, so he was a barber?
Well, he owned, that's how the whole story, did you not listen to the beginning of the story, mister?
I totally listened. I was just reiterating for the people who weren't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, remember he owned a beauty and barber shop. And he did the ad, and
Right.
That's how he got married.
Yes, I know all those things.
Okay, yeah, sure you do.
And just in case someone forgot.
Yeah, sure. So if $21,400 back then is $500,000 essentially today, $5,000, which is just 1/4 of it, is going to get him about $100,000 that he at that time was a generous amount of money to be able to open up a beauty and barber shop. So he was never convicted of killing his nephew or anything like that with these other mysterious deaths, but it's just interesting that it was connected somehow to the man who killed his last wife and collected insurance money. So there you go. Oh, by the way, Mary was Robert's fifth and last bride. What a winner, right?
Wow.
I'm glad that I was able to bring that to you. And thank you, Mike Bounds, for a great story.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. That was crazy. All right, so I guess it's my turn. And surprisingly, my story is also from my friend.
Oh, I see. Sorry, Mark. We have a momentary pause there. So go ahead. Start again, Tom.
Oddly enough, my story is also from my friend, Linnea, up in Oregon right now. She used to be here in California. And she actually grew up in the same city I did, La Habra, and she reminded me of this story. And I had completely forgot this thing happened. And when she messaged me on Facebook about it, I was just like, oh my God, I totally remember this story. And I had to look further into it because at the time it was kind of a like a urban myth amongst kids because, we didn't watch the news.
These are Bloody Mary?
Huh? What?
The urban legend of Bloody Mary.
No.
You've never heard of the urban legend of Bloody Mary?
Oh, you're making this up.
No, I'm not.
No.
You stand in the bathroom, you shut the door, turn off all the lights, you spin around like 5 times, and you say Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, whatever it is, however many times. And then when you stop and face the mirror and open your eyes, you're supposed to see an image of Bloody Mary in the mirror.
And
I never did. But I was scared in there. That is actually a true urban legend for kids. I cannot believe you don't even know that.
No, I did. I just wanted to hear you say
You're
it.
such a... Oh, my gosh. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So, kids, we didn't watch the news. We didn't have the internet.
Right.
That's how old I am.
Oh, jeez.
And so this was kind of just, word of mouth got around, and it was just really kind of unbelievable at the time, especially in this little sleepy town, La Habra. So when I looked it up, I got the full details, and it was just all just coming back to me. So This was back in 98. And this is about guy's name was John Samuel, and I'm going to butcher this, Jobile.
Joe what?
Or Gobiel. Maybe it's Gobiel. Ghobial.
Gho.
Bial.
I think it's Hobile.
Hobile.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go that way. So this guy, John Samuel Gobial,
Hobile.
he was found guilty for the brutal slaying and molestation of 12-year-old Juan Delgado.
What?
Yeah. So, again, this was thought to be an urban legend. And when I tell you the details, you're going to be like, no, that's not real.
Is it going to give me a plot twist like the last one I just did for you?
No, not at all. No plot twist.
Okay.
So, John was a one-armed homeless man who lived in a shed.
Down by the river?
No, we didn't have any rivers.
Sorry, that was an SNL reference.
Yeah, 3 people got that.
No, I don't think that is true. A lot of people do know that skit.
Well, John was always nice and didn't bother anyone.
Well, yeah.
You could try that. One day,
Dick.
Juan disappeared, and the last person he was seen with was John, the one-armed man.
Okay.
He kind of stood out, being that he had one arm.
Yes.
Yes. So a search was done after a few days of looking, because some kids said, "No, yeah, we saw it with John,
The one-armed man.
the one-armed man."
Down by the river.
And a search was done on his shed, where they found the boy's clothes. And
Wait, how old did you say the boy was?
12.
Okay. This is not going well.
They found a detention slip from the school that he went to,
Okay.
and they found empty bags of concrete
What?
and a bunch of pornographic magazines.
Oh my gosh. One-armed man is a perv?
Homeless, also. Homeless, one-armed man.
Even homeless can be pervs.
Yeah, homeless, one-armed man.
Okay.
Perv. So, it was the chunks of concrete that led the officers to the shed. Basically like a little
trail.
Hansel and Gretel
Oh, yeah.
breadcrumb trail.
Just they don't chew up too easily.
Yeah. And it was these pieces of concrete that were bleeding that led them up to this shed.
So they were bloody pieces of concrete.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's believed that I don't want to get too descriptive here, but he cut up the boy's
So this was a Jeffrey Dahmer situation.
body, with a meat cleaver he had, and mixed him with batches of the concrete,
Okay.
and then later tried to scatter these chunks of concrete
You know he has one arm.
with one arm. Yep.
So he couldn't have been productive in life with his one arm. He had to go ahead and do something gruesomely, horrifically, graphically horrible with one arm.
With one arm. And again, this is a very detailed case that just like went on and on and on and on and on. I was okay, there's only so much I can talk about here. So
Yeah.
I try to condense it down a little bit. So during the trial, prosecutors had planned to call his cousin to the stand, Joe Biles' cousin, to testify that when he was only 8 years old, Joe Bile had molested him and stabbed him with a penknife in the chest and stomach before fleeing from Egypt. So yeah, he's from Egypt, by the way. So a homeless, one-armed Egyptian.
Down by the river. So you're telling me that this guy came all the way to America, to your hometown.
So, well, he, in about 3 years' time, he had made his way to Texas. And he had told the federal officials that he was being persecuted for his religious beliefs. So that's kind of how he got in here. And then he eventually made his way, to our little town of La Habra, which is in Orange County, of all places. And he
Not Florida.
oddly enough, no.
Wow. Good job.
Yeah.
Really representing California well there. Actually, two of our POS stories in this one are both from California.
Yeah. Wow.
Guess
Crazy.
you should get a sound effect for California. So this Egyptian who had made his way in the 3 years that he entered our country through religious persecution. Okay, so he got asylum essentially.
Yeah.
Made his way across the country by way of Texas and then finally showed up into La Habra, California. Lived in a shed down by the river.
No river.
Okay, so he lived in a shed, and did he lose his arm here, or was his arm already gone when he got here?
His arm was already missing when he got here.
Got it. Probably that religious persecution.
Right.
Or he did something bad over in Egypt and they cut off his arm. Because sometimes
Also possible.
hand for a hand, eye for an eye situation. So he's here, and I'm assuming during those 3 years he was never really productive about anything.
Hence why he's homeless.
Down by the river in the shed.
Yeah.
So is there any, in your research, did you find out if he had a history of doing this with any other?
I couldn't find anything about him doing something here in America.
Okay.
But he had, like I said, his cousin was willing to testify about the kind of things that went on back in Egypt. And his defense lawyer was trying to really spin this up to make this all about race somehow.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, well, okay, you're Egyptian, but the little boy you killed was Hispanic, so I don't think this is really a racial issue. Plus, this was back in the 90s. This was not really a thing.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. In La Habra, it's actually a pretty Hispanic community.
Well, yes, La Habra. La Habra Heights Hills, a little bit more white bread.
Yeah. And looking down on us.
As we have friends that we know up there who do look down on us on the flatlands.
Yeah.
I have friends in Anaheim Hills. They look down on us all the time.
Yeah. Well, what can you do?
I just look up at them and go, hey, Santa Annas are coming. Hopefully everything's good up there.
Oh, I look up and give him the finger.
Wow. You're practically in Orange Hills, so you're pretty close.
I am literally at the bottom of the hill. Like, all that S rolls down, sir. Right,
Okay.
right into my backyard.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Has no fish pond, by the way.
Okay, good. I'm glad you have no fish pond because I would hate to find you one day face down in it.
Well, if
Dunking for apples or koi fish.
if that ever happened, check my feet for bite marks.
Yeah, right? They didn't even see that part when they did the investigation.
Again,
Anyways,
1935.
I know. And where the hell did he get 2 diamondback cobras or snakes?
Yeah, I mean, there's no internet back then, so it's
Well,
not
and
like
I
you can
don't-
just like order them.
Well, and I don't think that they probably had reptile stores on commonly, available around in Los Angeles.
I mean, again, less. It was like a less like dense city environment, so maybe they're just more commonly available.
Maybe. But I truly think that this Egyptian should have his foot put into a box with 2 diamondback snakes because what a piece of, I mean,
Yeah,
seriously.
so you could see why, like among kids, like, oh, that can't be real. A one-armed man cut up a boy and put him in concrete.
I mean,
Like as kids, imagine as kids, like
yes,
how just like crazy that sounds. Again, like these things
and
did not happen in La Habra.
well, that's true. You're right. That's not really La Habra just never seems to have had that type of like crime aspect there. And, you know, did he know this young man, this young boy or whatever, or vice versa? I mean,
a lot of the little kids knew him because he was just like a nice
One-armed
guy.
man.
Yeah, one-armed man. He was just a nice guy that kind of like hung around certain areas that kids would, walk by, and they just, they would wave to him or give him a candy bar or something.
what a piece of wow. Well, and was there any update at all to the story since that was from the 1990s?
Well, yeah, there was like a lot of going back between like his punishment. Like
Okay.
I think they were originally trying to give him the death penalty.
And back in the 1990s, California was at least still willing to embrace that.
Yeah, so I believe that was overturned, and he just
Of course.
spent the rest of his life in prison. If I remember correctly, when I was looking this up, I believe he did die. Actually, not that long ago.
Oh, so he's dead.
Oh yeah.
So he's met his maker.
Yes, he's no longer an issue for us. We no longer have to house or feed him.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just sad that a 12-year-old boy didn't get to grow up and have the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. These people just, why can't people just get along? Why? And leave the frickin' kids alone.
People be crazy.
Animals and kids, don't touch them.
Something bit me. Man, oh, yep, there it is.
You got bit?
Yeah.
You got bit here in the recording studio, or was this previously?
No. It happened now because it just started itching.
You get bit everywhere. I mean, that sounds weird. But
I'm tasty.
Oh, God. Anyways,
I got some delicious blood in me.
that's nice to hear. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, so I'm hoping your story is a little nicer than that.
Well, remember, I kind of teased just a little bit in the sense that it's in some ways similar to the story you shared in episode 1 where...
Mr. Larry?
Yeah, Ferris Bueller, when he helped out that kid. This one is, of course, on a bigger scale in the sense that... did you ever know any kids that were in the foster care system?
Oh, no, I don't believe I ever did.
So the foster care system, and it's not like I'm speaking of any sort of firsthand knowledge, but I have learned more about it over the last few years as we're part of the team that produces the large-scale Stars and Stripes tournament, the nonprofit organization that does the huge event down in Cabo every June. We raise millions of dollars for Orange County.
Shameless plug.
It's a good thing, though. It's a great thing what they do.
I
Yeah.
know.
No,
You're always trying to wrangle me in to help
I know
you.
that is true, but they raise $4 or $5+ million every year for benefiting children's charities in Orange County, and then as well as a couple charities down in Cabo. So it's actually really cool.
That's awesome.
And some of the beneficiaries of that are Orangewood Foundation, which handles foster care, kids and things like that. And then, believe it or not, I actually learned this through Stars and Stripes. So when you are a kid in the foster care system, if you have not been formally adopted, therefore, like truly you're out of the foster care and now you've been adopted by a mom and or dad situation, when you hit 18, you're basically kicked out of the foster care system.
Damn.
You are on your own. So this isn't the crux of the story here, but I'm saying this to raise awareness for people that I don't think a lot of people, they know about the foster care, like, oh, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 7-year-old, whatever. They don't think about the fact that when you hit 18, if you're still in the foster care system, you're kicked out of the system. And thankfully, there's organizations like Young Lives Redeemed and Merge, which are two of the beneficiaries, connected to Stars and Stripes, that what they do is they take that 18-year-old and they continue to work with them up until about 25 to get them, prepared for going out into the world as a young adult, resume building, how to do interviews, a place for them to live, all of that. They literally help to get them adjusted into the real world as a young adult. So that's all great and awesome and everything, but we're going to talk about Danielle Gletto of Trenton, New Jersey. So Danielle and her husband, Joe, had been fostering children and even over time adopted a child going all the way back to 2006. So quite a bit of time, that she's been involved with the foster care system. And, the thing is that back then, as she's looking at it, it's tough for foster kids because they're separated for whatever reason. They're separated from their parents and sometimes even siblings, which makes it even harder for them to adapt in life and even learn to trust and understand that there's a better tomorrow for them, because the foster care system, for all of its well-intended good, is sometimes a very dark and a negative place for a lot of these kids. So one of the things that she noticed back then is how much these kids give up hope when they go into the system. And, you were talking about in the story in episode 1 about little Levi who, didn't have pajamas for the pajama day at school. Well, in this particular case, Danielle, seeing a lot of these kids that were going without hope, and in many ways, they just didn't have the resources. And even if they got placed into a foster care home, sometimes that parent or the two parents there in the home are just barely making ends meet, but they're providing a home for this foster kid, and they don't have any extra money for something. So she decided in 2008 that she was going to create an organization called One Simple Wish. And the entire crux of this organization, this nonprofit, is to simply grant the wishes of these foster care kids.
So it's like Make-A-Wish, except they're not dying.
Correct.
Wow.
And it gives an opportunity for people to go online to onesimplewish.org and see what are the wishes of these foster care kids.
Oh.
And then you can help donate money to grant their wish, or however you can provide whatever that wish item is. What's sad is, and this was the latest, I didn't actually see any, I just didn't actually look for any later stats for this, but as of 2011, there's 400,000 kids in the foster care system.
Wow.
400,000 kids as of 2011, which means if you jump to 2025, I'm sure it's more.
Is there a limit how many kids you can foster?
Are you thinking about it?
I mean, I got nothing going on.
I think it's based on your residence.
I can take them to Disneyland.
Yeah, but you don't even go.
Well, I don't have a reason to go.
Okay. Well, yes, maybe you should consider that. You and Lisa should definitely look at that. So, as Danielle says, these are individual children that have individual wishes and individual personalities and individual wants and needs and dislikes and likes. And as she continues, I wanted to share those with people so that they could see that this wasn't about nearly 500,000 children that were in the foster care system. This was about this young man who wanted to go to karate lessons with his friends at school. It's as simple as that.
Aw.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, it's not it's not like granting this kid, an iPhone, or in fact, they're very, very careful about limiting that things like PlayStations and iPhones and, Air Jordans and Nintendos, that's not allowed. Okay. So when she started this in 2008, it has grown to actually service 42 states. It's quite a bit. And since 2008, she has helped to grant 45,000 wishes.
Wow.
Now, again, 400,000 as of 2011. That's a drop in the bucket.
Well, what's up with those 8 other states? What's their problem?
I don't know, but you can't say anything about California because they're one of the states.
Got to do something right eventually.
Exactly. So, one of the stories, that was shared in my research as I was looking through it was about, but there's thousands of them. Ronald Henning, who is now a young adult, but back then, he just wanted a suit to be able to attend a relative's funeral.
Wow.
That's it. So, these are things that we all take for granted.
Yeah.
And this kid didn't want a bicycle or whatever. He just wanted to be able to pay the proper respect and be dressed properly to go to a relative's funeral.
Wow.
So now one of the stories that Danielle shares is that there was an individual who made a large donation and it was with the caveat that the money was to be spent on unique experiences. So one of the children from Oregon was able to travel all the way to San Diego for a sushi eating contest.
That's
right?
awesome.
So, I think that's great because, that's going to be an everlasting impression on that child.
Yeah.
But, the thing here that Danielle was trying to, provide through One Simple Wish is that, these are tangible items like a bicycle or a varsity jacket or school supplies, and even unique requests like music lessons or a trip to the theater. These little things give hope to these kids who really, in many ways, are hopeless in life. You grew up at a home with a father and a mother. I did as well. You and I both come from broken families, okay? But we still had a parental aspect in our lives in a home. These kids don't. Some are lucky to find a foster parent that they'll have a great, connection and relationship and might even possibly adopt them. But it's far and few between.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. She, this isn't like a big dollar donation type of thing that she does. Most common wishes range from $10 to $100, usually not to exceed $500. However, higher priced wishes can be granted by pooling together resources of multiple donors. So depending on the circumstances, in some cases they've done things where they've taken somebody almost like a Make-A-Wish Foundation situation where they've taken somebody to go meet like their favorite basketball player or their favorite football player or whatever. But Danielle's goal with One Simple Wish is to provide an environment where the kids are talking about the fun things and the happy things and not constantly being reminded of how sad or tragic or challenging their circumstances are. So I think it's awesome of what she's doing. And by the way, out of One Simple Wish, going all the way back to 2008 when it was started, there's other nonprofits that have been offshoots from this. So one of them is the Ohana Project, which helps to foster kids, foster care workers, and families by providing 24/7 access to new baby supplies, bed linens, and blankets, pajamas, and other items to help ease a child's transition into a new placement home. And then another one that they started was the Wish to Work program. So as I mentioned earlier about Young Lives Redeem and Merge, this is very similar where it helps to give the skills needed in professional careers through job training seminars, networking events, resume feedback, and other assistance. So she's just awesome. And, the picture, which you can see on our social media, her little family there, you can tell. I believe, I don't know if both of them are adopted or just the one, but I just think this is amazing that this woman very selflessly, and her husband helping to support and be a part of it as well, very selflessly started this organization. And it's not just her, but any one of us can actually join in to help give back by going to onesimplewish.org. And I hope people will.
Yeah, hopefully. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's the nice things like this where people selflessly go out and start something that they didn't have to do. Literally, they didn't have to even open their homes to the foster care system or any of that. And they did.
Well, that's why we got to put a spotlight on these people so everyone else knows. And because, I mean, stuff like that wasn't on my radar. So I can imagine it's not on a lot of people's radar that's listening right now.
No,
it is now.
Yeah. I mean, I would have never thought about that. Even in my exposure in working with these beneficiaries through Stars and Stripes, I would have never thought about the fact that these foster care kids need something, just a small, tangible item that gives them some sort of excitement and hope. It's the little girl who always wanted the doll, and it wasn't until she became 7 that somebody got her that little doll, and she now will cherish that doll, hold on to it all the way up until her teen years, because it's not just a toy, it's a symbol of something that is a selfless act from someone else giving to someone else. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think about it till I came across, what was it? It was, I think it was OC Animal Care. Oh, what was it? It was like an adoption site for, dogs and cats. And,
yeah.
And they had a Amazon wish list. So I went on it and I kind of scrolled through there, and it's just, it's food, it's treats, it's toys, it's little things that along the same lines, it's like they're housed up in these crates or kennels or cages. Like,
that's a foster care system for animals.
So I added that wish list to my, list of friends. So on occasion, I'll just, I'll hop on there and I'll send them, either some treats or some toys, I won't see it. It doesn't come to me. It goes straight to them.
Right.
I don't get any
Tom, you
recognition
really
for
are
that.
a good guy.
Again,
I know we don't want to tell
clock.
people. Yeah, broken, whatever. You're a good guy, and that's great.
Yeah, whatever. Just don't let that get around. But is that all you got?
That's it for me.
All right. Well,
I mean, I think we've taken these folks on a very turbulent ride for the first 2 stories, and then and then a nice one at the end.
Yeah, gearing up for that big episode 10 special guest.
We have like 8 more. Well, yeah, roughly.
One episode at a time, folks.
Yep.
Well, if that's all we got, just a reminder, People Often Suck podcast is produced by Mark Wallengren, and it's recorded at the Kilroy Was Here recording studios. So thank you also to Ryan for helping us. And it's written and hosted by yours truly, Tom and TC.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
You do play a part.
Small part.
So I want to thank all of you for listening. If there's a story that you think we could talk about in a future episode, like these ones we just did, shoot us a message on Facebook or Instagram or X. And, not just, my neighbor carried my groceries for me, just something we can kind of expand on. And if you could please share us with people coworkers, maybe, mortal enemies. We're not going to discriminate here. We're very inclusive. So Don't forget to like or comment. And until next time, be good humans for F's sake.